Disney has been making cartoons for television since the 1980s. From lighthearted comedies to fantasy action, they've been able to take their talent from the big screen to the TV. And I want to share with you all what I believe are their top 10 best animated series. For the record, I'm compiling all of the cartoon shows from Disney regardless of what channels they aired on. The only thing that matters to me is that they were made by Walt Disney Television Animation, which is the case for the majority of them. Alright, let's do this. Number 10. Recess. I love this show growing up. I was a kid around this time and wanted to believe in all of the crazy dynamics from Recess. That kindergartners were savage, that teachers had double lives, that the playground was ruled by the older kids and waged dodgeball wars. Needless to say, I was disappointed when I realized that my school was boring. The only thing it had in common with Recess was the bullies, and even that was lame.
Please don't do this to me. I'm a really nice guy.
Well, I'm not a nice guy, Griswold.
Along with the fun setting are the characters. The majority of them felt unique and offered interesting stories. Stories that sometimes had mature themes. There's one in particular that I still remember to this day. It's about TJ and how this new kid refused to like him. Despite all of the kind things that TJ did for that kid, he refused to be his friend. Why? Because he just didn't like him.
So I guess you probably, I don't know, like me now, huh? Nope. What? But why not? I demand an answer. You gotta tell me right now. Why? Why don't you like me? No reason, I just don't.
To this day, that lesson rings true to me. Sometimes people just aren't gonna like you, and there's nothing you can do to change their minds. You just gotta accept it and move on. And that's why I love Recess. Fun setting, great characters, and silly stories with great morals.
No matter what you do, not everyone's gonna like you.
Blast you, Detweiler. Just because I give you a detention doesn't mean I don't like you.
Number 9. Tangled, the series. It's not uncommon to see an animated film have a series to follow. What is rare is to see an animated film have a series that's good. And I truly believe that Tangled accomplished this. The movie itself was very enjoyable, and one can argue that it was the film that launched the Disney revival. But I find it funny that it took them so long to release this series. The movie itself came out in 2010, and the series in 2017. But that's alright. Better to have something good late than something terrible early. Another cool thing about this series is how some of the main voice actors returned to work on it. You got Zachary Levi as the voice of Flynn, and Mandy Moore as Rapunzel. Thank God for this, because we get some excellent music as a result.
Look inside your heart and find the key, and set yourself free.
Number 8. Kim Possible. I'm not really the biggest fan of the secret hero double life. It's a trope, and it can get boring at times. But Kim Possible doesn't fall prey to this. As a matter of fact, it handles the trope quite well. I like the blend of story in Kim Possible. You got your slice of life high school troubles, and then you got your secret agent, gotta save the world troubles. And both aspects are fun to me. They even get mixed up at times, and that's when things get really interesting. I do like KP and Ron, but the villains are the best part of the show. That and the off-brand Taco Bell food. I actually tried making this concoction before, and I cut the roof of my mouth with the nacho chips. Would I do it again? Yes. Yes, I would.
I call it the Naco.
Number 7. Phineas and Ferb. This show is super clever with its writing. Crazy stories with fun characters to match. But honest to God, there's one character that makes this show stand out, and that's Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated!
Don't get me wrong, the rest of the characters are great, but whenever I see Dr. Doofenshmirtz, he just steals the show. I'm a big fan of the hero-villain daily routine dynamic. As in, hey, I'm the bad guy, and here's my plan. It's gonna work this time, but here comes the hero who saves the day, and then we start all over the next day, cause that's what heroes and villains do.
Ah, Perry the Platypus with an unexpected... Oh, wait. You're trapped. by societal convention. Look, we're in a fine dining environment. Everyone knows not to throw a scene in a fancy restaurant. That's right, you're trapped. Sit down.
Phineas and Ferb was one of those shows that I missed out on. It came out in 2007, and that was during a phase of my life where I wasn't watching television. So it was nice to have so much backlogged when I finally started to watch the show. It's definitely worth checking out. Number 6. Gargoyles. I remember watching the animated blocks of Disney cartoons back in the day, and the majority of them were silly and lighthearted. But then you had Gargoyles, one of the most unreasonably good cartoons I've ever seen. Like, to this day, it still catches me off guard. I mean, look at this lineup. Oh, Tailspin, that's fun. And Goof Troop, talk about wacky. Oh, what's this?
Trespassing.
Oh my god. It had great animation, interesting characters, engaging stories, and fantastic voice acting. This was actually the first time I ever heard Keith David do a role, and Kid Me loved it. Hell, I still love it.
Remember, you and I are one, now and forever.
Now, I'm not sure if this show was a response to other cartoons. Maybe Disney wanted their own version of Batman along with the TMNT, and this is what we got. But hey, I'm not complaining. It obviously worked out, and it still stands up to this very day. Number 5. Star versus the Forces of Evil. Admittedly, I got into this show only a few months ago, and I still have a few episodes that I need to see. That being said, Star vs. is one of the most underrated cartoons that Disney has ever made. It reminds me of Gravity Falls, in the way that you can have a blend of comedy and jokes, but also have mature themes and serious moments. It's a good way of knowing your audience, and that it's more than just kids who watch this stuff. Usually, main characters like Star get on my nerves with the overly cutesy stuff, but it works for her. Marco also works out. It's a lot like the dynamic with Ron and KP in Kim Possible, except instead of secret agents, you have magic that can transport you to different dimensions. Also, I really like the colors in the show. It really pops to me and looks rich and colorful. Number 4. The Mickey Mouse TV series. Here's a hot take. Mickey Mouse is one of the most boring cartoon characters of all time. Well, at least he was. As a kid, I never really cared for Mickey. I just saw him as a mascot for Disney, and that's it. Yeah, I know he's been featured in cartoons and movies before, but even then, he's more of a glorified Boy Scout with zero personality. Like, the only time I kind of liked him was in the Three Musketeers movie.
What's going on?
He just gonna kidnap Princess Minnie so I can become king because he's really my dog. And he has a secret lair and it's really dark and scary. So the point is, instead of chaos and getting his way, so we should run down as far away as we can.
Donald, I can't understand a word you say.
In 2013, the Mickey Mouse TV series came out, and it was a massive improvement. It's a bit of a return to form for Disney with their old school animated shorts, but with a modern take. Instead of Mickey being the goody-goody who always wins, we get a version of Mickey who's not invincible. One who has a lot of good things going for him, but also finds himself in troubling scenarios. And since he's a character with flaws this time, it's actually fun to watch how he handles himself. It allows the writers to be silly and have fun with the character, outside of the funny stories and beautiful animation. I absolutely love this show for all of the Disney references they sneak in. Like, they have Easter eggs for theme park attractions, and they also do references to old Disney films.
What happened?
Number 3. Wander Over Yonder. Out of all of the shows made by Disney, I think that this one has the best animation, which really isn't surprising since Craig McCracken was the one behind it. For those who don't know, Craig's the guy who created the Powerpuff Girls, and it really shows in Wander Over Yonder, especially with Lord Hater. Wander Over Yonder was another show that I dragged my feet with, but after watching it, I was hooked. The universe it takes place in is silly. The interaction between the characters is fun, and Lord Hater is straight up hilarious. I'm a sucker for the angry villain who just loses their mind due to their frustrations.
What? No! We gotta animate a new ending where I destroy Wonder. Animation is so hard! People who do this for a living deserve more credit and respect!
What caught my eye the most about this show are the visuals. They're so fluid and vibrant. This scene with Lord Dominator really won me over. Also, the song was kick-ass.
Oh, it is fantastic! I see something, I blast it! And let me tell you why!
It's a shame that Wander Over Yonder came to an early end. Apparently, there was more to the story, but I guess we'll never know. Number 2, Gravity Falls. I remember when this show came out and how people were crazy about it. For some reason, that hype annoyed me, and I took my time getting to this show. Boy, was that a dumb decision. Gravity Falls lived up to the hype and more. The characters are endearing and fun. The stories are exciting and mysterious, and the setting itself gives me a Twin Peaks vibe. It's rare to find a show that can come across as episodic at times, but bring it all together at the end. Gravity Falls handled itself very well in that regard. It had a nice blend of slice of life, but still maintained its core story, never losing sight of what it was building up to, and the payoff was excellent. Also, it's really funny.
Hey! Wanna hear a joke? Here goes. My ex-wife still misses me, but her aim is getting better. Her aim is getting better. You see, it's funny because marriage is terrible.
And number 1, my top pick for the best cartoon from Disney is DuckTales, both the original and the remake. I grew up with the original DuckTales. It was one of my favorite shows to watch. It had beautiful animation, adventurous stories, and fun characters. Also, as is common knowledge, an insanely catchy theme song. So when I heard that they were going to remake the show back in 2017, I wasn't too happy about it. Now, around that time, I was just getting over the new Powerpuff Girls and how disrespectful it was to the original show. The last thing I wanted was the same situation with DuckTales. But, wow, the folks who made this really did their homework. The heart of the show that made the original DuckTales stand out was kept intact, but they also made changes that improved things. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, for example, were actually given individual personalities that made them easier to identify and appreciate. Some of the villains were given a design change, but still maintained their original evil charm. It's like they took the best qualities of the old series and built on them in the new series with a fresh coat of paint. To me, it absolutely works. And DuckTales 2017 is one of the best examples of how a studio can properly reboot a series. They had some big shoes to fill here, but they exceeded my expectations. And that's why I put both DuckTales and DuckTales 2017 as number 1 on my list.
Hey, if those are mummies, I'd hate to see daddies, am I right?